Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video I'm going to be doing starting off a new series of AD&D First Edition related videos, and I'm going to be doing the top 5 spells based on character class and level until I run through the entire series of combinations of class and level. So I decided just randomly to start off with magic users, and so I am going to be going over my top 5 magic user spells for first level. Now I'm only using, for now, the player's handbook. At a later time, as I go through this series, I will start including some of the spells from Unearthed Arcana in case that you actually use that as well, which I do for the most part in my campaigns. Although I don't have those as being spells that the player characters can start off with. Those will all be discovered as parts of treasures and whatnot. Or under special circumstances, adventure related circumstances. So anyway, without further ado, let's jump right into AD&D First Edition. My top 5 magic user spells for first level spells. So here we go. I have transferred them over to this, and I'm just giving you some of the spell details, the very basic stat blocks for the spells, for lack of a better term. Although some, because they are so complex, I am going to jump into the actual text as found in the player's handbook. And the first one being the first example of that. So, Find Familiar. This is a really important spell especially for low-level magic users, to give them, in my opinion, a bit of a boost in their hit points, as well as some additional abilities that they get from the very specific familiars that they end up with. Now, there is also two downsides to this. The first is that if their familiar is killed, it costs the magic user a lot of points, hit points. And I've seen instances where magic users are almost killed themselves by their familiar being killed. And then secondly is the casting time. The casting time, as you can see here, is anywhere between 1 and 24 hours. So it could take up to 24 hours for them to actually be able to cast this spell. But let me go into the actual meat of the spell. And for that purpose, I'm just going to check to make sure you're looking here. So let me go through this. So a familiar is of certain benefit to a magic user as the creature adds to the spellcaster's hit points. It conveys its sensory powers to its master, and it can converse with and will serve as a guard, scout, spy as well. However, the magic user has no control over what sort of creature will answer the summoning, or if any at all will come. And the power of the conjuration is such that it can be attempted but once per year. At such time as the magic user determines to find a familiar, he or she must stoke up a brass brazier with charcoal, and when this is burning well, add 100 gold pieces worth of incense, herbs, basil, savory, and whatnot, and fat. When these items are burning, the spellcaster begins his or her incantation, and it must be continued until the familiar comes or the casting time is finished. Your referee will secretly determine all results. The magic user has absolutely no control over what sort of creature appears to become his or her familiar. This will be determined on the table below. A d20 roll. On a 1 to 4, it is a black cat, excellent night vision, and superior hearing. On a 5 to 6, it is a crow, excellent vision. On a 7 to 8, it's an hawk, very superior distance vision. On a 9 to 12, it is a screech owl. Night vision equals human daylight visual ability, superior hearing. On 11 to 12, it is a toad, wide angle vision. On a 13 to 14, it is a weasel, superior hearing and very superior olfactory power. On a 15, it is special. See the subtable below. On a 16 to 20, no familiar available within spell range. Subtract 1 from the die score for each 3 levels of experience of the spellcaster, and if the score is a 15 or less, roll again using a d16, and if the 16 is rolled, then the result is final. If a score of 15 is rolled, use the table below for special familiar. Special familiars are based on the alignment of the magic user. So if the magic user is chaotic evil or neutral chaotic or chaotic neutral, it is going to be a quasit. If the caster is neutral good, neutral or chaotic good, neutral or neutral good, it is going to be a pseudo dragon. Lawful neutral or lawful good, it will be a brownie. Lawful evil or neutral evil, it will be an imp. Normal familiars have a 2d4 hit points and armor class of 7 due to the size and speed. Each is abnormally intelligent and totally faithful to the magic user whose familiar it becomes. The number of familiar hit points is added to the hit points total of the magic user when it is within 12 inches of its master. But if the familiar should ever be killed, the magic user will permanently lose double the normal hit points. All right, so very, very costly if the familiar is actually killed, because they lose those points permanently. If a special familiar is indicated, details of the powers it conveys are given in the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual, and you could certainly go into all of that detail specifically based on those. So one of the more complicated of the first level spells, I'm going to switch views back over to here, and but one that I think is really worthwhile for a magic user to start off with. Even with its downsides and everything, if they are very, very cautious with how they utilize their familiars, then I think that they outweigh the potential risks. Now, you could end up with a magic user, first level magic user, if their familiar is killed, to actually lose more points than the character actually has, which would mean that they die as a result of the losing those double hit points that the familiar had. Oh, excuse me. The next one is Hold Portal. So, and let me make sure we're looking at the same page. I'm sorry. So the next one's going to be Hold Portal. The components for this is just a verbal. The range is 2 inches per level. The duration is 1 round per level. The area of effect is 80 square divided by, or 80 square feet per level, sorry. The casting time is just 1 segment, so very, very fast casting time on this. And there is no saving throw. So what I like about this spell and why this is so utilitarian is that if the player characters are fleeing this and they flee through a door, the magic user can cast a spell very very quickly, and that portal will be held for 1 round per level. It will give them, especially if they're second, third, fourth, fifth level, and they utilize this. It's going to really allow them to either prepare for the attack that is coming down upon them, or possibly even escape it altogether. So it's a nice utilitarian spell that I like, and I would certainly say that it's within my top five. Good defensive spell. Identify. So this is the range you're looking at. You're spending one segment on casting it. The area of effect is on one item. Its components are verbal, semantic, and material. Its casting time is 1 turn, so it does take a total of 12 rounds to cast it. And then there is a saving throw, which is a special saving throw, and I'll deal a little bit with that now, switching views to the player's handbook. And so I will go to identify, and we will see how the saving throw goes. I'm not going to read the entire explanation, but we will go to this here, and let's make sure you are viewing the same thing. Yes. So here we have the identify. When identifying a spell as cast, one item may be touched and handled by the magic user in order that he or she may possibly find what dwemer it possesses. The item in question must be held or worn and should be normal for any such object. Bracelet must be placed on the spellcaster's wrist, a helm on his or her head, boots on his feet, cloak worn, dagger held, and so on. Note that any consequences of the use of the item fall fully upon the magic user, although any saving throw normally allowed is still the privilege of the magic user. For each segment the spell is in force, it is a 15% plus 5% per level of the magic user, probable that one property of the item touched can become known. Possibly that item has no properties and is merely a ruse. The presence of Nistel's magic aura or magic mouth being detected. Each time a property can be known, the referee will secretly roll to see if the magic user made his or her saving throw versus magic. If the save was successful, the property is known. If it is 1 point short, a false power will be revealed. And if it is lower than 1 under the required score, no information will be gained. The item will never reveal its exact pluses to hit or its damage bonuses, although the fact that it has a few or many such pluses can be discovered. If it has charges, the object will never reveal the exact number, but it will also give information which is plus or minus 25% of the actual exact number. Of the actual, i.e. a wand with 40 charges could feel as if it had 30 or 50 or any number in between. The item to be identified must be examined by the magic user within 1 hour per level of experience of the examiner after it has been discovered, or all readable impressions will have been blended into those of the characters who have possessed it since. All right, so that's a really interesting thing, and that's something that, to be honest with you, I've never strictly held to, but hearing it and reading it in this kind of detail starts to make sense. Much more sense of, what it has to be. So they can't just cast an identify spell the following day, and it gets into this too. Uh, let's see, he or she must rest for 6 turns per 1 point in order to regain them. If 8 points lost drops, I'm sorry, I lost something here. Um, After casting a spell and determining what can be learned from it, the magic user loses 8 points of Constitution. Oh yeah, I do use this. Um, if the 8 point loss drops the spellcaster below the Constitution of 3, um, he or she will fall unconscious, and consciousness will not be regained until full constitution is restored 24 hours later. The material components of this spell are pearl, at least 100 gold piece of value, an owl feather steeped in wine, and the infusion drunk, and a live miniature carp swallowed whole prior to spell casting. Very, very interesting spell components here. Um, all saving throws are made at +4, so that's a fairly positive thing for the spellcaster. So, bit complicated. Certainly something that you want to go over with your dungeon master prior to casting the spell, unless you're very, very familiar with all of the aspects of casting such a spell. Magic missile. So this is one of the few very go-to first level spells for magic users that I don't know any player doesn't choose this for their magic user, and the reason why is that especially for low level magic users, this is your one chance to deal d4 +1 damage without having to worry about hitting or anything like that. It's an automatic hit. It does increase in power as you go up in levels, which is another really important thing as well. So as you can see, it has a spell components is verbal and semantic, so you don't need any material spell components for this. Its range is 6 inches plus 1 inch per level. So basically, it starts off at 70 inches per level. Duration is special. It's you fire it off. Now you can have multiple targets if you have multiple missiles, and that's an important thing to remember as well. There is no saving throw for it. The effect is per one per creature that you're shooting at, um, and you can shoot multiple missiles at the same creature as well. Casting time is 1 segment, very, very fast casting time. Saving throw is none. Again, um, creatures in once in 10 square foot area. All right, so 1 segment creatures in 10 foot square area. Um, I already talked about that. You get additional missiles, so a second missile at 3rd level, a third at 5th, a fourth at 7th, a fifth at 9th, a sixth at 11th, and so on and so forth. So yeah, you could start, if you're dealing with a 13th level magic user, you're blasting out, quite a lot of missiles. So very, very, they cannot miss, no saving throw for half damage or anything like that. Very, very effective spell at any level, but particularly I find that it's a great spell for first level magic users so that they can dish out at least some damage. It also hits any creature normally hit by magic weapons or silver weapons or anything like that too. So in some cases, especially at earlier levels, um, you know, the player party might not have that many magic weapons at their disposal, and so the magic missile becomes an automatic damage dealer in that case. Sleep. This is another very, very effective spell. And as you can see here, its range is 3 inches plus 1 inch per level. Its duration, it lasts for 5 rounds. Its area of effect is a 3-inch diameter circle, so you can capture quite a lot within that area. The casting time is 1 segment, very, very fast spell again. Spell components is verbal, semantic, and material. The casting time, there's a little typo in there. Casting time is 1 segment. That came twice. Why did that come twice? I cut and paste, so sometimes these things type twice. Weird. Saving throw none, as I mentioned previously. Yeah, so that typed twice as well. Quite a few things typed twice. All right, I'll clean that up. So here's the creature hit dice and the number that it affects. So up to 1 hit die, 4d4. All right, so that's 4 to 16 of them. 1 plus 1 to 2 is 2d4. 2 plus 1 to 3 is d4. 3 plus 1 to 4 is a d2. So you're going to roll a d4, and a 3 or a 4 becomes a 1 and a 2 respectively, or you divide by 2 actually. So a 1 and a 2 is a 1, sorry, and a 3 and a 4 is a 2. It's the other one I conflated that with. 4 plus 1 to 4 plus 4 is 0 to 1. So you will put one creature that has 4 plus 1 hit die up to 4 plus 4 hit die. You'll put one creature to sleep if you roll a 3 or a 4 on a d4. So basically, once you get beyond like ogres, you're starting to lose the ability to cast the spell. However, it's a first level spell. And by the time you start fighting creatures that are above 4 hit die, your magic user is going to be a few levels, higher than 1 for certain. You'll probably be 2nd or 3rd level at that point. And it's always good to have something like this for low-level creatures, because you still encounter them even in higher level dungeons. And so it is, the expenditure of just one first level spell in order to have access to that ability to control a larger crowd of low level or low HD creatures. So that's pretty much my list there for first level and everything. Obviously, some of you are going to say, well, I prefer to have this level or that, this spell or that. Again, to taste, if I were playing a magic user, a first level magic user with just a few spells, at my disposal, these would fall within my top 5 spells that I would like to have at my disposal. Certainly I would go with the magic missile and the sleep probably as my top 2, and then but I like all of the ones that I listed there. Maybe I would wait a little bit beyond first level to do the Find Familiar, but again, that's to taste and based on your own level of caution. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will continue doing this series, so I will move on. I'll go back to alphabetical order as they're found in the player's handbook. So I will be talking about, clerics and druids and then so on and so forth. Go on to, I've already done magic users, I'll jump over to illusionists, and then repeat that cycle in order once again, and go with second level and so on and so forth. So I hope you're going to enjoy this series, and feel free to leave your comments in there and say, hey, you know what, you should really consider this one instead of that. I'm certainly open to your suggestions as well, and then I will switch over to covering those that are exclusively in Unearthed Arcana, if that's something that you would like for me to continue doing. So you all have a great one. I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully you had a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen or at a convention table sometime soon. You'll have a great rest of your weekend. Take care.